I'm speaking to you right now from, it's the middle of October, and I'm going to show you some really wonderful ground covers in this gorgeous garden of my friend Caroline Stevens here in Nashville. She has a mostly native garden, not entirely. She loves a lot of different plants, but she has a huge collection of terrific ground covers, all of which are native, all of which do great here, and most of them do in shade. She's got some huge trees, and shady ground covers are often hard to come by. I'm really excited to be able to show you these. This is a particular favorite of mine. This is a little bitty hypericum. Often people grow larger sorts, and they're called St. John's wort. This one is called St. Andrew's cross. The botanical name is Hypericum stragulum. Stragulum means spreading. This grows in this area around Nashville naturally, and earlier in the season it was covered with little lemon yellow cross-shaped flowers, really beautiful. It's a lovely spreading ground cover, dry shade, it loves all of that. As you can see, this is like a woodsy setting, and this is a native geranium maculatum, that's also spreading and growing in here. That's a clumper, whereas this is the main ground cover, this hypericum, the St. Andrew's cross. Most everybody's grown gold sturm, which is a kind of black-eyed Susan / orange coneflower. And gold sturm is a really great plant, but there are other types of the same species that I actually like better, and this is one of them. This is Rudbeckia. This variety, subspecies, is umbrosa. It's Rudbeckia fulgida variety umbrosa. This is the species, by the way, which is native to the Nashville area, most commonly found. It will take part shade, which is unusual for some of the coneflowers, and this one spreads by sending out little runners. It's also lower than gold sturm. You can see it wants to stay about 18 to 24 inches tall, and it blooms longer and later. It starts in August and it's still going in October. This is a kind of phlox, another native. This is Phlox glaberrima. This is a kind called Morris bird. That's the man's name. It was named after. And this is a really lovely spring blooming, spreading phlox. You can see it sends out these little runners that gradually cover the ground. And in spring, it'll send up flowering heads, typical phlox. They're kind of a brilliant, brilliant pink that come up about this high. Really beautiful. This does not entirely disappear over the winter. It tends to keep little rosettes low to the ground, so you can always see it. It's always there and always looking good. It's a great plant. Once again, this will take sun. It'll also take shade. In sun, it wants steady water. It's not super drought tolerant. This area shows a really beautiful little combination of one ground cover working with another ground cover. This is, the common name for Chrysogonum is green and gold. And this particular variety is called Eco Lacquered Spider, and I really like this one. It's available, you can find it. The reason I like this particular variety is it spreads faster than any other kind of Chrysogonum that I know, and it grows quite densely. You can see how really nice and dense this is. And I love the way it's sort of intruding, and these two things are working together, because this is not a grass, this is a sedge. This is Carex appalachica, which is Appalachian sedge, and it has this very fine-bladed, kind of deep Kelly green color, which is lovely, and it's a clumper. There's another sedge that looks a whole lot like this called Pennsylvania sedge, and the way you tell them apart is Appalachian clumps and Pennsylvanica spreads even more. It's thinner, doesn't make as dense a clump, but it spreads via runners. So I love the way these are sort of intruding, and this Chrysogonum has almost a little bit of a silvery tint to the leaves, so it's a very nice contrast. And over here, just over to my left, this taller clump is another native called Blophilia ciliata, downy wood mint. It gets about 16 inches tall, blooms in late spring with pink blooms, really beautiful. It is a mint, it has fragrant foliage, and it grows extremely densely in this high shade. It's a nice job as a slightly taller ground cover. People think goldenrod is just a weed out in the fields. The thing is, there are tons of species of goldenrod, and a couple of them do great in shade or part shade, and this is one of them. This is a particular favorite of mine. This is called zigzag goldenrod, the reason being that the stems, like the twigs of a redbud, are slightly zigzaggy. If you look at them closely, in between each leaf there's a little angle, so the nodes are angled from each other. And this has this beautiful arching habit. It obviously blooms in the fall because, like I said, we're in mid-October and it's in its glory. This is a gradually spreading clump. It puts out little runners, and the whole thing gets densely bigger over time. It's a rugged plant, super drought tolerant, and just gorgeous this time of year. Pollinators love it. And one of the great things about it is it has foliage. Even when it's not in bloom, the leaves are really unusual. In sunny spots, this is a great plant. This is Aster oblongifolius, the commonly called aromatic aster, the reason being that if you crush a leaf, it smells kind of a little bit like vanilla. But it blooms obviously in the fall with these gorgeous lavender blue daisies that as they age, the center gets darker. This particular variety is a very commonly available one called Radon's favorite. It gets this is about 2 feet tall, and it'll get a little taller than that. I've seen it up to 30 inches, and it spreads widely. An individual plant will spread 4 feet. So this is one plant. So you can see that in a sunny spot, you could plant several of these and really cover them, and it's so dense and covers itself with so much bloom in the fall. It's really a spectacular looking plant. There is a shorter version if you want something that stays 12 to 18 inches tall. There is another variety, looks very similar but just shorter, that's called October Skies, and that one's also a terrific ground cover. Just gets so dense nothing else can grow under it. We're in zone 7A here, and this is a reliable perennial in this garden. This is a verbena called snow flurry. The taxonomists have been at work, and our native hardy verbenas are now glandularia. But if you look for verbena snow flurry, you'll find this. It not only spreads as a ground cover, it gets maybe a foot tall, but it also reseeds itself, so it'll spread around and you can dig up little seedlings and put them wherever you want them. This is a really great plant. Another big virtue to this, and this is pretty unusual for perennials, is that this blooms all summer. It's, like I said, mid-October, still blooming. It sort of blooms in cycles. It'll only have a few flowers for a while and then bust out in a bunch of bloom again about every 4 to 6 weeks, depending on how much water and how rough the summer is. This is our hardy one, and they grow out in the cedar glades, so you know it's pretty rugged. Another ground cover that's hugely adaptable. As a matter of fact, Caroline has this seeding all over her place and pulls it out like a weed. This is Asarum canadense. This is our native ginger. Now, unlike some of the Chinese gingers, this is not evergreen. It does die back to the ground, but it comes out with these gorgeous kidney-shaped leaves every spring and spreads beautifully. You can see, once again, we're at the end of the year, so it's looking a little singy, but that isn't bad. We had a pretty hot spell in the summer and a lot of stuff suffered. But this is in part shade here. I've seen it come up in deep shade. I've seen it come up in pretty much full sun. It's highly adaptable. It's just not super drought tolerant, so it's not a very dry shade plant. But other than that, it's an extremely reliable plant. And it just nestles so beautifully here with this blue lobelia. And this is Tiarella cordifolia, commonly called foam flower. In the spring, it sends up little wands of airy, white, foamy-looking flowers. Very lovely. But it's beautiful not in bloom. You can see cordifolia means with leaves like a heart, and you can see that it's roughly heart-shaped, little teeth on it, really beautiful. There's often an internal pattern in the leaf, darker veins, which adds to the beauty of this. It spreads via runners. You can see it coming around. I'll move my knee a little bit. You can see it coming around the edge of this in the ground bird bath here. And it's spreading lovely. This is a native woodsy plant, loves humusy soil, wants shade to part shade, and gets extremely dense. You can see how dense this is. There's not a weed that makes it through this. It's a really great ground cover once it gets established, and it spreads fairly quickly. Caroline says this has been one of the most successful ground covers she has ever put in. This is valerian, the native species. It's Valeriana passiflora. And it blooms, sends up stalks of pale pink blooms in the spring, gets about this tall, which is maybe a little over 12 inches above the ground. All season, it has these gorgeous, deep green, lovely leaves, and it spreads via little runners to make a very dense carpet. She put in a plant in 2003, and this is what, 15 feet worth of ground cover. You can see how happy this is here. It's basically under big oaks, red, burr, and this little styrax hanging over it. And it's really thriving here. And I hope you guys have enjoyed looking at these wonderful native ground covers in the autumn. You're not looking at them when they're in their juicy prime in the spring, which is when most people come and look at these sorts of things. This is a really good way to evaluate the worth of these plants in your garden over time and how they look when they're not supposedly at their best. I think they look wonderful. Highly worthy plants, every one of them.
For inspiring garden tours, growing tips, and garden projects, visit our website at volunteergardener.org or on YouTube at the Volunteer Gardener channel, and like us on Facebook.